watching SoulFire with Theo Scott.
Super. Hello, everybody. Welcome to SoulFire. I'm your host, Theo Scott. A little bit about this show. SoulFire brings into the studio performers in the local area, Maryland, D.C., Virginia. We bring them here to feature, to show off their talent. On this episode, what you're hearing in the house tonight is Keith E. Wesby and his band. We'll meet the members of the band in just a minute, but first, welcome to the show, Mr. Keith E. Wesby. Good to see you.
Hey Theo, how are you?
Thanks for coming out. I'm doing well,
Thanks for
man.
having
I'm doing
us.
well. You know, seeing you in performance, the first thing one notices is this unique headless bass. It seems to be a trademark with you, because I've seen you play this for a long time. Matter of fact, we were in a show band for the Army years back, and we were playing that style.
Don't
before.
date me, bro. Taking me too far back. Yeah, this was what I call my non-human baby. It was made by a luthier out in Portland, Oregon, actually.
Right.
And he made a couple of them for me, and I was partial to the headless design. I started on Steinberger's, actually, so I was partial to the headless design. I love being able to play and tune, you know, without having to cross over.
I see.
So my tuners are down at the body.
Right.
Yeah, that's the whole concept here.
So, how did you get started on bass? How did you get started with music?
Bass music, yeah. Well, that goes way, way, way back, ancient times, like Flintstones.
Date yourself.
Yeah, no. To be totally honest with you, I was an athlete, you know, before, and
Boxing?
football.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, boxing was always one of those passions, but never really got into it. And anyway, injury occurred. I was laid off for a while, and next thing I know, I just turned to music. You know, never went back to sports. Once I got that music bug, never looked back.
You're self-taught on bass, or how do you?
A little, well, self-taught initially. Self-taught, but I also hung out with other bass players who were gigging in the area. And this one cat, a gospel bass player, Mac Williamson, would, come to. He was a buddy of mine, so he'd come to the house, show me some licks and stuff like that. Later, studied with the other professional bass players, Buster Williams being one of them, legendary Buster Williams, who played with almost everybody in the jazz world.
Right.
You know, used to go up to New York and do that. So yeah.
Now, you're writing all your own music. You have a lot of music out there. What was the name of that first song?
That track was called Get It Back.
And is there a story behind that? I mean, it's that title.
Well, most of my songs do have a story behind them, and that one in particular was really just get your drive back, you know. When you feel that you're lacking or falling behind and whatever your goals are, it's really just a tune that says, you know, here's a groove, get your groove back,
Right.
you know what I mean?
And this is a home studio you're doing your work out of? Or?
It varies, you know. Yeah. Sometimes I've been up to, what is it, 3 Keys,
Right.
Bias.
Yeah.
Those are some of the more well-known studios in the area.
Right.
And also I've done some home recordings. Where's the other one out in Springfield? What's the name of that record? No, well, I forget the name. By Derek, he was the studio owner out there. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
So you, any special inspiration, you know, something triggers a song to come out of you, you know, you get inspired by some sort of sound or just some kind of feeling, and you get to the keyboard, to the bass, and start pumping them out, or?
A little of that, yeah. You know, I try to push them out in regular intervals,
Right.
so I know when that time is coming up that I need to, you know, focus harder on composing some material. But, you know, for me, I have music running through me constantly, melodies, chord changes, and stuff like that. So it's not too difficult to really put something together. That's just how my thought works musically, you know. Yeah.
So what's the next one you're going to do?
Next track?
Next song, yep.
That one is, thank you, that is When in Doubt.
When in Doubt, okay. Yes, let's hear this and we'll talk about it a little after.
All right, cool.
When in Doubt. Keith E. Wesby. You know, hearing this now, there are a lot of elements in this that, you know, you can refer to jazz, you know, funk, R&B. So now, I guess if you were to look for this in a music store, it might have to fit in a slot like jazz or some form of it. But if you were, you know, outside of that, you know, not putting it in a box, how would you define it? What would you label it? I mean, if you had a way of defining it, you know, what would you call that's this style?
I wish I could. And if I could, I would classify it as cool music. You know what I mean? Right. Because there are elements of a lot of things in there, and you know, I even had a couple of tracks with some classical bits in it, and but you know, jazz is varied like that. Right. You know, you can find a lot of different things in the jazz section, so to speak, with the small jazz sections you find in stores these days,
yeah, just a little corner.
But yeah, so they just throw us in the mix there as well, and I like that variation. You know what I mean? I like the variety in spontaneous improvisation. I like the variety in the jazz selections. You know, it doesn't all just sound the same.
And your composition, I mean, it has this element where the keyboard and sax share that lead line. It's just a nice doubling there.
Yeah, certainly a lot of tracks are like that. I have a couple of tracks where the bass and the sax are, you know, sharing that spotlight a bit, you know.
And when you mentioned the classical part, now I know from listening to your songs that you have one called Her Waltz, is it?
There's Her Waltz.
Her Waltz,
yeah. That's a pretty little 3/4, you know, waltz tunes, kind of a romantic waltz ballad.
Would you mind doing that one now?
Oh yeah, sure, no problem, no problem.
Let's hear that.
Would you mind, Maestro?
Her Waltz, yeah. Just check it out. Nice. That 3/4 takes you away from that just straight 4 feel. You know, it's nice. I was meaning to ask you about your cruise dates. I mean, you remember? I remember we had a conversation. You were doing cruises at a time. So
Yeah.
how was that?
Bases didn't like the salt water too much. Made the streams real sticky.
Sure,
Kind of
sure.
weird. But it was an experience. You know, I was single at the time. You know,
Right, yeah.
So
That's the best
something
time to
cool
do that
do.
kind of stuff,
Yeah,
right?
indeed.
Right.
Yeah, when I was touring with various bands, rock bands, pop bands, and the cruise ship thing, show band, even the thing we did, I was single at the time, and now I'm married with children. So I got to settle down a little bit. You know?
One of the hardest things for groups to do is stay together.
Yeah.
And how do you guys manage to do that? I mean, it's just there's so many distractions.
Yeah,
You know, everybody
indeed.
wants to play, but you know, getting together, you got rehearsals, you got to take away time from
Sure.
you know, your regular life, you know,
Sure.
to put
Yeah.
a nice project together. So
Yeah, and you know, I got a great bunch of guys with me now, you know, who are dedicated and they're seasoned cats, so they
do you
understand.
say that all the time, or just
Well, they've been with me the longest, you know. When you came out, you were playing with me. Actually, I had a different group of guys, and like you said, you know, things happen and people start taking different directions. But these cats have been pretty steady, you know. So and I'm happy about that. Thankful.
how long has this?
Thank you, guys.
How long has this 3 been with you?
Yeah, it's about 7, 8 years. yeah.
Nice. What? Where does the
Time
time
flies,
go?
man.
Huh?
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and I like to say, you don't look a day older, by the way. You look great.
There you go. So, so now, a song something that's outside of that waltz field and the other styles you're having. What do you have on the list that kind of takes us out of that?
That's your opinion. Yeah.
That's your opinion.
Yeah. Track called That's Your Opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Featuring Sax Guy again.
Yeah, Sax gonna do a little bit of something, right?
That's your opinion.
Yes.
Keith E. Wesby original. Let's hear it.